back to another episode of the Counter Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, along with my great friend and co-host, Taylor.
What's up?
How's it going, man?
It's going.
It's going.
Life's moving pretty fast.
It is. Just came off, we're already halfway through February.
Yeah, that's crazy. 2024, like by the time I'm trying to get used to writing 2024 on like documents,
It's
we're
already
like
2025.
Yeah, we're pretty much into February. Yeah, before you know it's going to be Easter and everything else. I mean, boom, as it is, we just had Valentine's Day, so.
We did. Did you do anything?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
Little Kendra Scott. I wasn't going to. As I always tell my wife, I'm like, I'm not one to follow capitalist trends, such as like I want to get you something on a random Wednesday just because.
And it just so happens this random Wednesday also happened to be Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we were going back and forth because I've been seeing a lot of trends on like TikTok where it's like, just because you're married doesn't mean you can assume they're Valentine's. You got to ask. So
that's so stupid.
Yeah, amen to that. But I know my wife's on social media too, so I kind of have this feeling, and I was going to ask her officially. But there's no need to ask her like well in advance. You can ask her the night before, the day of Valentine's, whatever.
You could. That's true. That is true.
We were having not an argument, but like a little something.
Discussion with purpose?
Yeah, that's better. It wasn't a fight by any means. It wasn't even like an argument. It was too meaning like over dishes or who's going to watch the kids or something. She's like, she just happened to bring up, she's like, you haven't even asked me to be your Valentine's yet. I'm like, for the record, I was going to, but now I don't know. And she's like, I hate that. Don't throw it in my face that you were going to, like, it became this bigger thing than what it needed to be. And this was like 4 days before Valentine's. So every chance leading up to that, it could get brought up again or anything. And then the morning of, I'm trying to like kiss her on the way to work. Funny enough, not to dish and tell or kiss and tell, whatever, but I'm like leaving for work Valentine's Day morning, and I lean in to like try to kiss her. And my wife's not a morning person, and she's dealing with kids. And I went to go like try to kiss her goodbye, and she like started backing away from me. I'm like, fine. And then like we had like later she called me on the way to work. She's like, I can't believe you left like that, blah, blah. I'm like, I was about to ask you right then and there. She's like, there you go again. You know, the hanging it over my head like you were going to ask. I hate that. I'm like, I seriously was. And you ruined it because you didn't want to even kiss me goodbye. Anyways, marital stuff. Obviously, we all have our problems. So I went to Kendra Scott that day, and I ended up getting her an actual like Valentine's Day gift. But the point is, typically I wouldn't. So what about you?
We didn't end up doing anything Wednesday night. But are you sweet? We just hung out and kind of spent time together, kind of sent the kids off. But tomorrow in the afternoon, we're gonna take her. I'm gonna give her a little shopping. That's kind of like her, I guess, belated.
That's almost better.
Valentine. Well, here's the thing.
You don't want to go out and into the chaos. You know what I mean? You don't want to deal with the reservations and things like that. And
yeah. Well,
the overpriced meals for two where they try to make it seem like it's a special, but really everything's hiked up in price.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is
we cooked at home. So
for Christina and I, like our wedding, and we just had our 7th wedding anniversary.
Congrats.
Thank you. On
still behind the 8 ball, but I mean.
To what?
Still behind the 8 ball here, but.
I'll catch you one day.
One day.
No, I won't. So our wedding anniversary is February 11th. Then you have Valentine's Day, and then the day I guess the proposal anniversary, whatever, is February 17th. So like within like a week span of time, we have 3 like
big celebrations. Yeah.
One, I mean, the biggest deal in our life,
obviously,
being married, and then like Valentine's Day, and then the day I proposed to her, right? So kind of like Valentine's Day for us is not that we don't recognize like that care. Valentine. But like for us, it's like, I don't know, like we just went out for our anniversary. Like,
but see,
whatever.
To have a chill wife like that is awesome. Like that's what you can hope for.
Well, you know what's funny too about that, just real quick, is we had a conversation leading up before, because I was on like 1-800-Flowers, # not a sponsor. Looking
They're
at
expensive too.
Looking at like different ones, I'm like,
it's going to
and I went
die in a week.
I said, listen. I said, one of the best things about our relationship is that we can be very bluntly honest with each other. And I said, look, I think flowers are a complete waste of time. Will it hurt you if I don't get you any? Yeah, and if she said yes, it would. I would have gotten them, right? But I'm like, I'm just gonna put this out there, and she's like, yeah, I think they're stupid too. No honesty, I said, fantastic. I'm never buying flowers again.
Cut flowers. I will say I switched it up a little bit. Maybe a month ago now. I can't remember when I got them. I think it was just because. But you can see in my kitchen over there, there's orchids. It's a living orchid. It's a little bit more expensive than like a bouquet, but
Yeah.
it's alive.
Yeah.
Guess what? In 6 months or whatever, it's going to bloom again.
Yeah.
It's not dying in 7 days. You got to put the plant food in, and you're just like, see that brown water, and you're like, why?
Yeah.
I spent $30 for something that lasted 6 days.
Yeah. So she, again, in all honesty, she's like, look, whatever. Like, I'd rather you like just do something else or give me a gift or whatever. So that, yeah. So
something
luckily,
material, something that lasts.
Yeah.
Like some Nike Dunks, low Dunks or something.
Well, the low Dunks were a kind of an anniversary present.
There you go.
That you.
I mean, I didn't say that for any particular reason,
Yeah,
but
well, yeah, there they are. There they are. I have no shame. Yep, I got them.
I think
And
mine
she
are
did
cooler
too.
though.
Those are not just sneakers, folks. Those are like motorcycle riding boots.
Yeah.
Short boots, I guess.
I rode today. I just haven't changed. This is what you get.
Vroom vroom.
Right here.
Yeah,
so.
we're very like, just going off the cuff, man. Just making it happen. But
you get what you get.
You do. Yeah, I mean, anyone that listens to us, and again, any regularity, this is this is what you get, and this is us.
Exactly. This is us.
But yeah. So, but also, right, for those that recognize, Lent also just started, right, and so we actually, I was just talking to you about this. Like, I did a social media, like, complete purge, right, which for me is hard because I'm like, I do have a problem with my phone, where like in the evening times, like sometimes I'll just tell Christina, like, just take it and put it where I can't find it, because I get too much into it.
Just doom scroll.
Yeah, basically.
But you're not a big a TikTok person. You're more of like Twitter, huh?
No, I would say Instagram.
Or was it X now?
X gonna give it to you. No, I mean mostly Instagram and TikTok. Actually, I'll doom scroll TikTok for endlessly.
Yeah, it's
addicting, man. It is bad. Like, I feel so bad for like kids finding TikTok at like 13. I'd be like twitching like crack addict if I had found it at 13.
It's a drip for sure.
Yeah. Man, my dopamine,
like suddenly go outside and like going outside doesn't do it for you anymore. Like you just I need my phone.
Yeah. So
and you're cheating the youth by doing that. Because I remember like going outside was like a treat. We didn't have anything to do, but once we got outside, we figured it out.
Yeah. So
whether it was dirt clod wars, airsoft, climbing trees, riding our bikes for 12 miles, and our parents thought we were around the block, like, you're cheating the kids now because it's all about Fortnite and TikTok and everything. Kids getting phones at 10 and 12. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's harder as parents, it's harder to compete with that now.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a challenge for sure. And, whatever. So I think it's going to be very good for me in the long run. And I don't know. I mean, may try to have somewhat of a permanence to it after Lent.
So how long is Lent? Remind me. Like 30 days?
40.
It's 40?
Right, till
there
Easter.
You go. So, if I remember correctly, to break a habit, I think it's 21 days.
That is it, yes.
So, your social media sobriety, you could be a changed man coming out of this.
I think, honestly,
just don't go back to the rock, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think at the end of it, I think there may be a decision made where it's like, do I just kind of like part ways with this forever and then just be done with it?
You could. It'll be easier to cut that tie then. Mm-hmm. You could try to just have some self-control and limit yourself to a certain amount of screen time.
Especially if I find myself way more focused and things like that everywhere else, I might be like, goodbye to all this forever.
You'll be more productive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so we'll see how it goes. We'll see if I can last. Yeah. So I mean, but what we're gonna really talk about today is the new Deadpool trailer. No, I'm kidding. I would talk about that, but I know everyone's like, no, please do not talk about movies or anything again.
It's like all you guys talk about is movies. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, there's really not much more to us.
We should have a second channel where it's only movie stuff. Those are popular too.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. Because
second channel.
here's the thing: is that we would have to watch, I think, more movies to do like movie
research.
reviews.
It's research.
Yeah,
It's a tax
I
write-off.
told you though that Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is that what it is? I am so excited for that movie.
That's Henry Cavill though too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that movie looks.
I heard that Uncle
so
Argyle
good.
or whatever didn't do as well.
I heard critics didn't like it, but regular people said it was great, which is kind of like MO
Typical,
for
yeah.
nowadays. Like basically, if critics hate it, that means that you're probably gonna like it.
And we're talking about movies.
Again, exactly. But I am looking forward to that one. We
Okay.
should go see that. I'll go look at it.
We'll talk
later.
later.
Anyway, so two things we really want to talk about. Or do you want to talk about the Super Bowl ad first or the Tucker Carlson thing?
Let's do the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl. Okay. So okay.
Okay.
Here we go. All right, so obviously we just came off the Super Bowl where the Chiefs won again, and it was stupid. Anyway, but one of the things that I think most people watch the Super Bowl for are like the commercials. Everyone looks for the commercials, right? Even as a football fan, I'm more interested in the commercials a lot of times because I never have a team in the Super Bowl because I never have. So. One of and of course, whenever a company is going to put an ad, during the Super Bowl, it's always going to be a big deal because it costs a lot of money. It's most eyes there that are going to be watching it, right? Now, there's this organization
and the ads are expensive.
called. Yes, they are. They're like $7.
Kanye's ad was only 30 seconds and cost him $7 million.
Yes, it's $7 million per 30 seconds. So if you have like a minute long, I mean, you're talking dropping 14.
And I'm sure
million.
the price only goes up depending on when you want your commercial.
Yeah,
like when it drops first, last.
First, yeah, like the first quarter is the most expensive spots, and then the last, obviously because the most people are watching. Yeah. So, but one of these ads, right, happened to be from. Well, they actually had two, but an organization called He Gets Us, right? Now, some of y'all may, some of y'all already know where I'm probably going with this, but for those of you that don't know, He Gets Us is an organization or a Christian organization, and their big thing is always about how Jesus gets us, right? Now, when I started noticing them, right, was during like the George Floyd, racial, injustice, all that kind of stuff that popped up in 2020, right? And a lot of the stuff was very surface level. Right, of like love your neighbor, blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, whatever. Yes, we need to do that. You're kind of muddying the water a little bit, but more often than not, at least a message about Jesus and about this message, more often than not, does more good than harm. I would say. Right. Obviously, there's plenty of conflicting theologies and ideologies, but more often than not, bringing Jesus into the conversation is usually better. Not this time. This time it was terrible and I hated it. And
yeah, it was just a weird message to send.
Yeah. So the big commercial, and everyone's talking about it, was the He Gets Us washing of the feet ad, right? And I remember sitting there watching this because we were both at my in-laws, watching the game. And I remember just watching these scenes thinking like leftists were behind filming and coming up with ideas for this ad. Because and people that actually don't know who Jesus is and what he was actually here to do. It's very obvious. And now, if you happen to not see it, I think pretty much everyone has, but if you haven't seen it, go look it up. You can just put in He Gets a Super Bowl ad, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, right? And it shows multiple scenes of different people getting washing their feet. So there's like a cop washing the feet of like a black man, right? And then one of a white. And again, I have to preface the race because it matters, right? So it's a white cop washing the feet of a black man who is kind of has a tank top on, jeans. A white girl washing the feet of a black girl, like in a high school. A white guy washing the feet of like an Indian man, Native American. a woman washing the feet of a young girl outside of an abortion clinic, right, where there's clearly pro-life protesters in the back. An oil rig worker washing the feet of like one of the hippie protesters, right? You know, environmentalist types, right? And then you have one of like again a suburban looking white woman washing the feet of like looks like just this drifter kind of racially ambiguous woman but brown skin, you know. And then there's one of another again suburban woman washing the feet of a woman with a hijab on, right? And then it ends with one of like clearly like a gay man having his feet washed by a priest. Okay. Right? Now, all these images, again, it's very clear the message.
It's politicized.
Yeah,
sure.
oh yeah. It's very clearly politicized. Anyone who says it's not is just lying or just doesn't understand the current climate that we're in right now. And it ends after the scene with the priest washing the feet of the gay man. Or I shouldn't assume his gender. Of the person. It flashes saying Jesus doesn't teach hate. Which is really quite disgusting, right? Because it completely misses the mark of, again, the teachings of Christ and then like the significance of Jesus washing the feet, right? Because it says he doesn't teach hate, he washes feet. It's like, no, that's not what happened, right? The most prolific scene is him washing the feet of the disciples before the Last Supper, right? But what's important is there are some people, you know, some of the people talking about this that, you know, were on X, right, we're reacting to it, right, is that there's two that I want to point out that I thought were really good. So this guy, it was at Mega Garbaggio. What a great Twitter name. So he said, the message of Christianity is that we are all sinners who fall short of God, and therefore we need Christ's salvation, which is true. We need to be washed and cleansed of our sin. Rather than preaching the gospel, this ad is subverting it and basically telling Christians to debase themselves towards others, right? Which I think is completely true. Mm-hmm. It's saying you, again, really honestly as like a white, straight person, but again, you could say you who follow traditional Christian teachings, you are the problem and you need to debase yourself, right, to these people. Right, and that's how you show "quote unquote" love, which it's not true. That's not how you show love. Right, it's not by allowing people to indulge either in lies or sinful behavior. That's not love, right? And that's what this ad is telling you, right? Whether it's the priest washing the feet of the gay man, right, or the woman, you know, comforting, basically telling the girl that got an abortion, like it's okay that you did that. Basically, that is the message that it's sending. Now, do we offer people grace and mercy and everything?
Yeah,
of course, right? Because like the one guy said, on X said, or Twitter, whatever, we all fall short of the glory of God, and we always will, right? But it's not just about that. It's yes, Christ asks us to come as we are, but then says the biggest part is where he says, go and sin no more, right? Transform your life, right? Change from this point forward, right? I mean, the greatest example is Mary Magdalene, right? Christ shows mercy to Mary Magdalene, right? When they tell him, you know, to cast the stone, this is what she did. She committed adultery, all these kind of things, right? But then he says, right, okay, well, he who has not sinned, right, throw the first stone. They all walk away because everybody has sinned, right? He shows her incredible amounts of love and mercy, but then he looks at her and says, go and sin no more. And Mary Magdalene transformed her life, right, and followed Christ, right, and was there, I believe, at his crucifixion, right, or, that's unimportant. But the point is she changed, right?
Right.
And this ad is saying that them being who they are, being
that
the way
they don't
are,
need to change.
Yes.
That we're just going to accept you for who you are.
Right. You don't ever have to change from where you are. And that's not the message of Christ. And to twist that for, I would say, political and ideological gain is disgusting. And ultimately, the reason how I can confidently say this is if you go to the parent company, I can't remember what the ministry, whatever it's called, but the guy that leads that, his LinkedIn profile, right, has his pronouns in his bio. And in all honesty, people could say it's shallow, but that's all I need to see is you put in your pronouns, and that tells me everything I need to know about who you are and where you stand. It does. You could say that's not fair, but it's true. I know that this man, right, is someone that has completely fallen in line with specifically gender ideology, which is the most, I would say, evil and just disgusting sort of thing, because right now it's, we've talked about it over and over, right? The targeting of children, right? So he's outwardly, basically okaying that, right? And he's a part of it, right? He's basically a part of it because he's indulging in it. And so this organization is full of shit. They don't know who Jesus is. I would probably argue to say they probably have plenty of people involved that really don't believe in Jesus, or Jesus is who they want him to be, which is the person that can help them have some sort of ideological or political gain in the culture right now. I mean, that's all I can assume, because someone actually did kind of like a response commercial to it where it showed a lot of these famous examples of people who were like, one was like a former witch, former like drag queen and prostitute, for all these things, and how they reformed their life, right?
Right.
And at the end it says he doesn't just get us, he transforms us, he saves us, he cleanses us, like he does all these things, again going to the true message, which is like he transforms your life and lifts you higher to a better place. So it was just very, I want to talk about that just because it's very, that kind of stuff just,
it's near and dear to you.
It is, and it should bother Christians, and more often than not, again, Christians are still just not saying anything. Like, the reality is, we need to figure out like how these people are getting money and basically cut them off. And if they want to continue being a political organization, I mean, they have freedom of speech. They can say whatever they want. But anyone who is a serious Christian that would take this message and take it seriously is just delusional, because it's just not real. It's not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like they're trying to chip away at the wall.
Yeah.
Of Christianity. To the people who, have a strong sense of faith, who go to church, do all the right things, they just try to spread the word, and if people are out there or they're hurting or they need the guidance, that they bring them into the flock kind of deal. Go forth and spread the word kind of thing. You're taking not necessarily away from those people, because those ones are going to keep fighting no matter what. But it's the people who are going to church because they feel like they need to, but they're not really trying to convert people. They're not, they're just kind of going through the motions they've been sitting back and watching the last several years, and they're kind of like, well, maybe we're too hard on them. Maybe they should have more rights, or maybe we should let them, they just want to be equal. But then he goes more and more and more. It's those people who are kind of on the fence that are going to see something like this. They're going to be like, unless they're truly versed in the Word of God, they're not going to be like what you're saying. It's almost more like when I first watched it, and like, oh yeah, man, I get the message. It's, no more hate. And then they just kind of look at it like that. They don't dig deeper, or they don't get the explanation like you just gave. But that's all it took to start to get them to think that way. And then it's just, you slowly slip away from Christianity because of it.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. And where Christianity just becomes this muddled, really almost like, again, just, be nice to everybody. It's like, that's not what Christianity is.
No, it's not just some moral compass.
You don't sit there and condemn people. Like, I mean, that's not what I'm saying at all. However, there is a certain idea, right, of and a certain standard that as a Christian you're called to, right? And if you don't stand up for certain standards, that's just not it. Like, you're just not doing it.
So what do they say? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Yeah. And that's essentially what we're seeing. I mean, if you're a Christian, then stand firm in your faith, and you need to push back on stuff like this, because, I mean, not to make this just about a trans thing, but it's a perfect example of what we've seen, because we've covered it over the last several years. It started off with one thing and then became another. We gave an inch, they took a mile. And then next thing you know, they just wanted to be accepted. Next thing you know, we're trying to stop stuff from being influenced to our kids, drag queens reading, story time at elementary schools without parents, knowledge, things like that. Like that's the slippery slope we're talking about. And, go after our kids is one thing, and good luck trying, because I personally won't stand for that, but going after your faith and the wishy-washy Christians, or, if they start to leave, then you're only left with what? The diehards, like the super serious ones. And then the next thing that I can imagine is you get enough people that are kind of stuck in the middle who there's like, I can kind of see it both ways. You're only going to be left with the super strict Christians, or the true believers. I don't want to make it seem like they're a cult, but that's what the media or these organizations are going to twist it to next.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're just super religious.
Well, they are now, right?
Right.
We call you a right wing. If you go to Latin mass, right, and say the rosary, they're going to label you as a extremist.
Yeah, exactly.
Danger to the country and national security.
I mean, not even 10 years ago, maybe even like 5. I mean, we used to have like one nation under God, like in the schools. It was said in every morning, part of the Pledge of Allegiance and everything else. There'd be, a silent prayer, and then it turned into just like a moment of silence or reflection. Mm-hmm. However you wanted to have it, that was your 30 seconds in the morning to just, the whole school was silent. Mm-hmm. So if you were Muslim, or if you were, any Hindu, any different belief or whatever, it didn't go against you. You could take that time for whatever you wanted, but this country was built upon Christianity, it's
Judeo-Christian values. Yeah,
it's in the Constitution, like for a reason, and that's slowly been chipped away, and pretty soon there's gonna be nothing left.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and it's funny because for Catholics, but I think this is probably, I think you can reflect on this for any sort of denomination, but Pope Benedict the 16th talked about, it's probably over 10 years ago now, that the church was going to shrink, but that would be because you would have the lukewarm, kind of go away, and you'd be left with a kind of a strong core, and help the church ultimately grow from that, right? Because there's a strong sense of belief. And what's funny about it is for wishy-washy sort of Christians, I always just think about basically when Christ would say, let your no be no and your yes be yes, for the lukewarm, I like spit you out, right? Because he just, like, in a sense, like I find it the most disgusting when you just want to just kind of play in this gray area. Like, just if it's no, it's just be no, right? Just choose no. If it's yes, then choose yes, right? Now, again, we sin every day, right? We have, we're you're always trying to be better, right? We're imperfect, but just to sit there in gray area land is just it's danger zone.
Yeah, because ultimately the true believers, regardless of World War III, the rapture, whatever comes, if you're doing everything according to your faith, then ultimately you're getting into heaven, whatever afterlife you believe in. But for Christians, since we're talking about that, you're going to get in. But for the wishy-washies, the scary thing is, unless the Christians start to take a stand and push back on it now, it doesn't matter if the church shrinks and then you're stronger because of it, because you got this core belief. Politically, the national landscape's going to change. Mm-hmm. Your day-to-day life is going to change. It doesn't matter, if this mortal plane is short term, you're going to have to be. It could potentially be a living hell until that time comes.
Like we've talked about, like it's important for people to vocalize, right, and actually stand up against it, and that's very challenging. But you have to try. You know what I mean? You have to. So, I obviously I could rant about that all day, but I had to just bring it up because it was just. It's something that just bothered me so much to my core, just to take,
something that was such a powerful moment,
because you could use that moment to actually show stories of again the transformative power that Christ can have in people's life, and you just choose to basically just subvert Christianity and use it as a tool to just throw in your personal political ideology, and try to frame that as what Christianity is. It's just I find it disgusting, and anyone who is involved in this organization is, I wouldn't say anyone. anyone involved with making that Super Bowl ad is not a good person, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's weird because, not to keep going, but Christians have been getting a lot of hate lately. So some people who may be a part of this, maybe they were just on board.
Just think about this week. There's a shooting at Lakewood Church.
Yeah.
And there's no question that what that person was and why they were there and what they were doing.
Exactly. And there's been a lot of like Christians this, Christians that, they're just hate mongering. They don't accept people for who they are. No, we were raised and we believe and there's a right and a wrong and that's the way we're going to go. And if you don't want to be a part of that, then fine, stay out of our way. But, no malice towards you. We're just going to do our own thing, but don't make it my problem kind of deal. But so maybe there were some people on board of this organization who just thought, well, maybe this is a good way to kind of show that Christians aren't all that bad. But, shame on them, because if they would have dug a little bit deeper, that's not what the message truly was about this commercial.
No, it is not.
To your point.
It is not. So, but speaking of subverting, we wanted to also talk about something that was pretty.
If you didn't watch it, then you at least know about it.
You definitely at least know about it. I know, and you had brought this up. I know you wanted to talk about this. Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin. Now,
I got to say, for those who didn't watch it, you should probably watch it. I'm kind of guilty because I didn't get all the way through it. It is a long watch. It is kind of a slow read, if you will, just with the translation, and Putin kind of gets on a rant a little bit here and there. It was a little bit different than I thought it would be.
I will tell you, if there's a guy on YouTube that did a good 20-minute kind of breakdown of the important aspects without any real bias.
I would agree.
It was pretty good. If you can brunt the 2 hours, you should try to do it. I will say, like you said, there is a long rant in the very beginning.
Yeah.
From Putin. It's legit 30 minutes of a rant, and it
is a full-on history lesson. And I gotta say, as an American watching it, quite frankly, I was embarrassed. Just because you have this leader with no notes, no teleprompter that we could see him looking at, reciting, whether historically accurate or not, that's what they believe were the events that transpired from early Russia to the present day.
I would say it was a history of Russian territory from a Russian perspective.
Agreed.
A Russian
but
bias,
we're talking dates, places, the people in power at the time, and he's reciting it all. Meanwhile, we have a president who can't form complete sentences. And that's the part that I'm embarrassed for as an American.
I mean, I know. I mean, oh, man. Yeah.
And that's why we're kind of a joke right now.
Yeah.
And unless America unites and we do something during this election year, something that kind of resets the clock, so to speak, I think within the next 5 years, we're going to be looking potentially at a different world landscape, possibly Russia and China leading the charge. I don't know. But America's going to it's already happening. We're slipping to a backseat, and I don't know. America's too divided. But anyways, back to the actual interview.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think I didn't even think about that, but you make a great point of, you have, again, this gentleman who's the leader of his country, like him or not, who feels a lot of pride towards his country and knows everything about it, right? Even if it may be a bit of a skewed, I guess, perspective of it, right? He knows his stuff. And like you said, I mean, our current president can't even put sentences together, or he doesn't know who he's talking about.
Who did he bring up the other day who's been dead for a while?
Well, he talked about how he just
had a
recently met
conversation
with a president of France who had been dead for
10 years or something.
I think
it's like a decade or
that.
something. Yeah,
I think 20 years been dead.
Yeah, he's like, I just talked to this guy the other day.
So that, and then, he called the president of Egypt, the president of Mexico. The dude doesn't anyway.
Yeah, it's
just
painful. I know we
painful.
joked about it for a while there. We said, it wasn't worth covering anymore, but now it's just...
Yeah. Well, you're going to hear a lot more now because we're in election year. So congratulations, folks. Although, I mean, to be honest, will he even be the candidate?
I know this isn't a Biden show topic, but did you see the other day how they were talking about how with the confidential documents and stuff that they found that he had, that he misplaced, they try to blame it on memory lapses or memory loss, but they said that no jury would actually find him guilty for it because of his age.
They basically said that it would be elderly abuse to put him on trial.
Right.
And so they won't do it. That's what they said.
Yet at the same time, he's allowed to be the leader of the free world.
Right.
You can't have it both ways.
Also in that the same week, he obviously there's an annual health checkup, right, for a president, and he refused to do a cognitive test. Not like they couldn't or what.
Oh, can you imagine if there was Trump doing it?
He'd be roasted.
It would be in it'd be on everything and everywhere in your face.
Yes.
Social media, New York Times, everything.
Yeah. And they'd be talking about how we have a madman for a president. Right?
Why is he refusing? Why won't he show us? What's he hiding? Blah, blah, blah. It's like all this clickbait stuff.
Now, the thing is, we don't have to ask what is Joe Biden hiding because we already know. The guy's an idiot and he doesn't know where he is. So, it's not a secret.
It's freaking dementia, man. I don't know.
Right? But, of course, even his press secretary... Right.
They just stop answering questions. They just walk away now.
Yeah, she just stopped. She's like, "All right, bye, guys."
Where's the accountability?
They again for this. They just don't care. Part of it, I feel like they're just like, we're not gonna. We're at the end of our rope, so we have because there's nothing. There's not. What do you say? I don't know what you would say. I cannot like. I think she's a moron, but I cannot imagine how hard her job is. Because what do you say? What do you do? I don't know.
I'm sure she'll get a comfy job after this.
She'll be on CNN, just like Jen Psaki or whatever, yeah. Right? Or MSNBC, whatever. She'll get a cushy media job, right? She herself can't string words together. So it's just, oh man. Anyway, back to the Tucker Carlson interview. So. Again, you should at least get a debrief, kind of get like a gist of what happened because it was actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
I think from what he said, because he opens up saying, "Hey, on February 22nd, basically right before you invaded, you said like this is why we need to," and basically Tucker says, "Well, why now? Why didn't you make this argument 24 years ago when you were when you became president, right?" Which is pretty fair point. And again, that's when he went into his long tirade about the history of Russia.
Because he was trying to shed light on his reasoning as to why he waited and all that.
Right. But again, Tucker then asks him, well, why didn't you make this case that you're telling me 24 years ago when you became president, right? Which is fair, right? It's like, well, okay, well, why now? And then he starts bringing up the stuff in 2014 with Ukraine. And here's I think the ultimate thing is from that perspective of it, it's very clear that Ukraine is a gargantuan money laundering scheme for the West, right? We have found that out to be very clear.
As they're just now passing like another $95 billion to go over there.
Yep. Yeah, something like that.
Somebody tried to make an argument like, oh, well, it's not just going over there. You can track it. Most of it's going to U.S. weapon manufacturers who are they going to send it over there?
Yeah.
You mean the same weapon manufacturers that are then giving kickbacks to the politicians for their campaign donations? That's money laundering too?
Yep.
It doesn't have to go to Ukraine and get washed there. We're washing it here through the war machine.
I think that because of this, foreign aid is the biggest scam of all time. Like the idea of I can't. For me, I despise the country of Ukraine. I hate the country of Ukraine. I'm sorry people have gotten hurt there and killed. I'm very sorry. I'm very, very sorry for these normal people who had done nothing wrong. But they are just siphoning off, and not the people. Politicians are just siphoning off the people for this country, and I can't stand it. Right, like Trump posted something the other day is that we need to stop foreign aid. The only thing we should ever do from now on is just give out loans, which I'm like, how have we never even thought about that?
Who says we haven't? We are literally taking loans. We're in a deficit.
We borrow money from China all day long.
That's
right.
Where do you think we're getting this other $95 billion?
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is his point of saying like, instead of just giving people money, it's like, okay, here's this. You're gonna have this back. This is a loan, and you're going to pay back.
Yeah, but we're not offering it as a loan. We're just giving it.
Oh no, I know. I'm saying
but
that's what
that money we're loaning, we're taking a loan on from China.
Oh yeah.
So we lose out, but they have to pay on it.
Yeah.
Or the American people do. I mean, I don't know. There's a growing movement to just stop paying your taxes. And if enough people do it, what are they going to do? I mean, there's a lot of people on social media who are going up and saying that there's no physical or written law saying you have to pay income tax. I mean, this country started with people getting upset over like a 3% T tax.
Yeah, and look how far we have fallen.
Like over 50% of what you make is taxed somehow.
Yeah, whether it's by just
sales tax or like I was even thinking the other day, what if you buy a used vehicle? And then what if you sell that used vehicle?
Pay a tax.
To a private seller, and then they go to register it.
Tax.
They get taxed. That vehicle could have then been taxed 3 times.
Yep.
Why does Uncle Sam need to take it 3 times?
What if they end up selling that car again?
Again, it gets taxed again. If an item's already been taxed 1 time off the original sale, I think it should be done.
Mm-hmm.
Why should the government benefit on that? Especially if we don't have proper representation with that taxation in order to hold our politicians and how they're running this country with some kind of accountability. I know my voice isn't heard. Oh, you could write a letter to your state rep. Like, how you really think that's going to work?
They don't give a shit about you.
So maybe back in the 1800s, sure. But right now?
Yeah, because they would tar and feather you.
Just look at what's happening with the border right now. I mean, there's local sheriffs who are deputizing vets just so they can have the power, because local militia is looking like almost more like a terrorist organization now by our own government, just for wanting to defend our land and our borders. Like it's embarrassing.
It is.
Well, back in the day that we won a war with pitchforks and muskets against the biggest army/navy in the world at the time.
The world superpower.
Yeah, I mean, and now you have, what is it? What was it the other day? It was like out of the 50 states, we got like 24 or 25 that we're sending with Texas.
Yeah, 25. I think it was.
So you have half the country standing back behind Texas in recognition that this is a border crisis. Yet the federal government was denying it all and almost retaliating against what the state was doing on the state level.
Not almost. Openly retaliating.
No, yeah. With the, what is it, who were they sending down there?
Lawsuits. Well, it wasn't
FBI.
It was lawsuits. I mean, everybody.
If that doesn't say that, okay, on a ground level, like normal people, residents, local law enforcement, governors, if more than half the country, or at least half, is standing behind it, but it's not being represented through media, mainstream, what you're seeing, or what's being spoken at the federal level during press conferences and all that, they're not with us. Mm-mm. They're not doing what's best for the people or what the people want. I understand, if people get elected into power and they kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt, like almost like some of the majority are treated like children who don't know any better. Like, oh, well, 60% of the kindergarten class, wants ice cream, but they already had candy after lunch. So as a responsible adult or the teacher, I can't give them ice cream too. That's too much. Mm-hmm. So even though the majority wants it, there has to be a sane, reasonable person that's in charge. That's not the case now.
No.
It's just, I don't know. Pretty soon it could be civil war. It could be the Wild West again. I guess we'll see. And the funny thing, going back to Putin, they know it. The rest of the world is sitting back watching this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's bad. America is in a kind of a real bad place right now.
It is. And unfortunately, a lot of Americans are desensitized to the whole Ukraine thing now. Other than this Tucker Carlson interview, which more people watched it just to kind of see what the huzzbuzz was about or whatever.
I think it got like 100 million views on
Twitter.
It
was huge.
It was huge.
But it was a big thing. Why don't we have things like that more often? Why aren't more people doing it? You know, there was talk that the U.S. wasn't going to let Tucker Carlson back into the country if he did this.
Yeah, they basically called him a traitor, right?
Yeah.
Saying it was treason for him to go and talk with Putin.
What's about freedom of speech? You know, freedom of press, journalism, all that.
It's all out the door.
They didn't want it out there.
When you're against the regime.
Exactly.
And again, I'm not saying that everything Putin said was facts.
No, I'm not even a Putin advocate. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, yeah. And I'm just saying the point, like, you know, we're talking about a former KGB agent. You have to take it all with a grain of salt. But again, it's like, it's worth at least being able to listen to. It's a different perspective.
Not that you want to listen to it. Everybody should listen to it.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
You don't think during the Cold War that there was Americans at home watching the launch of Sputnik? It wasn't pro-Russia to watch the launch of Sputnik or this. As Americans, you're keeping track of what's going on. You're informing yourself so you can be educated on what the opposition is doing, what's happening in the world. Like, you don't think we should have Tucker Carlson, whether you like him or not, interview somebody else who is funding the war on the opposite side of everything that we're paying for?
Yeah, that the U.S. is actually directly involved in.
You don't think you'd want to hear this crazy man side of the story? If anything, you should want to and be like, oh, I mean, I want to see what this crazy guy's got to say. And you may come back and be like, ooh, he said a few things that make me question what's going on back home or what I'm being fed. Like, it's all about education. Like, even as conservatives, I mean, we don't try to hide that, but I'm not going to lie. There's been times we watch CNN stuff. You know, you educate yourself on what the opposition's doing, or, you know, especially during an election here, you watch what the Democrats are saying.
I watch CNN to laugh because they're a bunch of fucking idiots.
But my point is, you don't just put your head in the sand and pretend they don't exist.
Correct.
You arm yourself with information to better serve yourself. I don't know. It's
100%, and I think that's you're absolutely right, because I think it's the only way. Again, you don't have to even believe it, but you should at least hear what they have to say and the information they have. And although I do think one thing is funny, the funniest part about the entire interview was Tucker Carlson asked him who blew up Nord Stream 2, the pipeline. And he was
basically saying, like, you should probably go back and ask your country.
Well, yeah, he said, like, you did it, and Tucker's like, well, I didn't do it. I was busy that day. And Putin's like, well, maybe you didn't do it. But the CIA basically just says you have an alibi. The CIA doesn't have an alibi.
Yeah, he didn't come out and say it, but he was like, "You should go back home." And it was funny.
And here's the thing. Would it shock me to find out that the CIA directly or a group connected to U.S. interests was involved in the bombing of Nord Stream 2? Honestly, no, it would not, because it got the U.S. what they it got the machine, right, what it wanted.
Yep, it primed it.
Which is a way to get the war machine going, right? Because for whatever reason, whether it's George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, or Nikki Haley, they just love dropping bombs, right, and sending money all over the place and invading
it's the best way to combat
state,
inflation.
Country. Well,
you got to make
it's not working very
good economy, apparently.
Well,
the difference is we're sending money. There's no America going to war type war machine. This isn't Susie the Riveter kind of thing, and everybody's doing their part.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny is I really thought they would try to get more troops on. Although I think because he put troops on the ground.
Have we even sent troops?
No, they talked about it, but the biggest problem is that if you did that, if you put
I honestly think it's like a proxy war.
Well, it is a proxy war.
Especially this far into it. What I was going to say earlier is, other than this interview, to my knowledge and everything that I come across, it's been like dead silent now. We're still sending money. It apparently passed through the Senate with flying colors, and it was still kind of in the House the last I checked. But
it seems like Speaker Johnson has tried to stop it. I don't know if they were successful
And then something
in doing
about
so.
what is it, Majorca? Just got
They
impeached or
went
something?
ahead. Yeah, they impeached Alejandro Mayorkas, but
Let's see if that's
part of it, who gives a shit? Because the next idiot that comes, I mean,
yeah.
again, until the administration's out, I don't care.
It's not even about the administration. To me, honestly, we need stricter policies. We need term limits. We need salary caps. We need stock blocks, like things that are going to hurt them in their wallet. So if you have nothing to gain financially,
See,
then you're truly doing your civil duty.
You know what's funny though is that requires them to vote against their own interests, which is why like it never happens. Like whether it's like saying they can't do, let's say, like securities trades or like term limits. Like you have a few people like Ted Cruz, I think, has talked about it, and like you have like Rand Paul and like a couple guys that like I think they're honest, but it's never gonna, because you have to force them to vote against their own interests, and there's no way they could do that. You'd have to be able to gather or start a convention of states to force that to happen. And I don't even know if you could get the support necessary to do that.
You can't, because I mean, there's lobbyists. Everybody's in these politicians' pockets. It's all about the central banking system.
So,
it's
really, God, our God is money in this country in a lot of ways. And, as the saying goes, money talks and bullshit walks. So
he said it.
yeah, I mean, it's the reality. I mean, it's just, it's the color that our politicians and everything answer to are green, not red, white, and blue. It's true. Outside of, you don't have to say it, but outside of the guy that's worth a couple $1 billion, he's the only one that doesn't give a shit because he has plenty of money.
Yeah.
Right. And again, that's why.
It scared the whole machine so bad that they try to witch hunt him for 4 years.
Man, they're not going to stop. They will do it again. This year is going to be nuts. They're going to do everything in their power to stop it from happening, and it's going to people. I think we're going to see some crazy shit, as we've said already numerous times.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. But yeah, I mean, it's an interview worth checking out. And again, just getting that information, and then again, you just do with that information as you see fit. So, but that's all I got.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, at this point, just go check it out for yourself, and then, I don't know, go love your family and your friends around you. Go do something good for your community.
Yeah, put your phone down, go outside.
Yeah. Boom. Later.
See ya.